So one is using blocks. This is a little bit more, I hate to use the word aggressive, but it is a little bit more. So I'll show this one first. And then if you think this is going to be too intense, you'll choose the other one. So this one, I actually have the block quite high because when you take it a little bit lower, it produces a really big arch in the lower back. This one feels a little bit better in my body, and I would do it with my arms open wide because I'm really looking to open up the chest area. It's more about that. Okay, if that's not something that's going to feel good in your body, the rolled blanket under the spine is going to be a better option then. Okay, this is going to be a more even support. And it's going to allow the chest to open up as well with more, with a more solid support under the spine. Okay, you could also do that with a bolster. Okay, so, and if all else fails, if none of those props feel good under your spine, you can lay on your back and open your arms out to the side. And Hope made like a hybrid. She did the blanket on a block. Okay, so as always, you are invited to be creative and intuitive. Yeah, beginning with chest opening. And then as you begin to settle in, just allow gravity to begin to hold your body. So feel that your head is heavy. And just feel the shoulders starting to soften towards the ground. Eyes closed. Jaw is soft. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. And just notice the sensation that arises across the chest here. And just feel that there's a gentle
loosening of the knit across the chest and the front of the shoulders. Allow the breath to be soft. As you settle here for just a few more breaths. Just really get a sense of your body in space. Body settling onto your mat. Let's take about 5 more breaths here. Now from here, begin to initiate just a little bit of movement into your body. And as gently and slowly as you can, ease yourself onto your side. So just carefully coming off of your props and resting on your side body. So take a few more moments to settle onto your side, and I will let you know that our next posture will be a puppy pose or a child's pose, using your blocks under your triceps or your forearms. I'm going to continue to open the upper body. Mary, if you could put your camera is not on mute. If you are able to do that. Hope, I think you're on as the host, so I'm not able to mute her, but you might be able to. So one of
All right.
Oh, you got it, Mary. Thank you. I just noticed the screen is jumping around. Yep. Okay, so we're heading into, welcome Jennifer, we're heading into child's pose or puppy pose. And you can use really any of your props to support your arms. I'm gonna show it with my blocks. And I kind of like to do puppy pose here. Okay. So my head is dropping between my arms. And I'm just resting my elbows on the blocks. Now this can be really intense, and if it's too intense, slide back to child's pose and use it under your forearms. Okay, so you can play around with that, and you can also change that throughout. You don't have to you know, stick it out. That's not the plan here. Yeah, so the point is to open up the upper arms, triceps, shoulders. So settling in, softening between the shoulder blades. And allowing the head to be heavy and supported. Yeah, so if your head doesn't have anything to rest on, you're welcome to slide additional support under your forehead. Knees are wide. Notice what parts of your body touch the ground or touch the props. And allow those sensations to help ground you, to help keep you present. We're going to stay here for just about 7 more breaths. Find a place where you can tolerate for 7 more breaths. Now you can keep the blocks under your hands, or you can release the blocks to the side and just stretch your arms forward. And from here, slide your left hand back and thread the needle, left arm under the right. Nice, so just threading the needle. Again, use any props that you need to maintain a connection to the ground. Shifting the stretch to between the shoulder blades, outside of the left shoulder. Hips are high. Settling in here, find your breath. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. Paying attention to the sensation between the shoulder blades. Maintaining that place right in the middle where you haven't crossed the line where you're going to be sore, but it's just enough sensation to be interested in. Let's take 5 more breaths on this side. Gently ease yourself either to hands and knees or child's pose. You decide. Really slow, like slow motion. And then think about what's going to feel good here to bring you back to neutral. Maybe a couple of cat and cow stretches. Yeah, maybe like a rabbit pose, where you arch your back, around your back. Let yourself explore for about 5 breaths here, how to bring your body back to neutral. No right or wrong here. It's a turning inward, it's a listening. And in the next couple of breaths, you'll consider bringing yourself into the other side. So threading the needle, right arm under the left this time. Take your time. Set yourself up with as much support as you need. And then explore this posture as you settle in. Make a little micro adjustments. Finding that sweet spot. And then once you've found that sweet spot, sink in and find a little stillness. Breathe into any discomfort that arises. Five more breaths. One more breath in. One more breath out. Slowly ease your way out. And take the next minute to do what you need to do to feel reconnected. And the next couple of breaths, we're going to start to make our way back to downward facing dog, just for a couple of breaths. Let your downward facing dog be really active here. Like press your hands into the ground and slide your shoulder blades down your back. If you want to move your hips from side to side or pedal your feet, whatever feels good here, kind of tapping into that first lower back body opening. So we haven't really done anything with the legs yet. We're heading in that direction. So just allowing them to wake up, noticing what they feel like. And then taking a nice slow walk to the top of your mat. And we'll land in our standing forward fold. Feet come a little bit wider than hips width. Knees are very soft here. Upper body is dripping forward. You're welcome to use any props here to support your upper body. That can be pressing your hands into blocks, a bolster. You can rest your arms on a chair, on the couch nearby. Okay, whatever feels appropriate. It can be really grounding to press your hands into something here. So if you need that, set yourself up. And settle yourself in. We're going to be here for a little while. Giving yourself a really nice back body release. And also enjoy the benefits of inversion here. So the head is lower than the hips, which makes it an inversion. Feel where your feet plug into the ground. And even though the knees are bent, make sure that the knees aren't buckling in, but that the knees are under the hips. See if you can allow the weight of your head to help release your neck. Feel traction in your spine as the hips lift up, the head lengthens down. Let's stay here for 5 more breaths. From standing forward fold, we're just going to transition to a low lunge. So bend your knees, slide your right foot to the back of your mat, and lower your right shin down, settling into a low lunge. Hands just stay on either side of your front foot. So they're on either side of the left foot. Upper body can just lengthen forward here. It can round forward. Yeah. So if you need to put a little padding under your right knee, or if you want to set up blocks or a bolster to catch your hands, or maybe you even come onto your forearms. Totally up to you. But we're letting the upper body lengthen forward. So it's a really yin-y lunge. Yeah. This is all about the front of the right hip flexor. Really be mindful here that if this becomes too intense, you can always ease back out a little bit. You don't have to stay in the same variation of your lunge the whole time. So even though we talk a lot about moving into stillness with our yin practice, we don't stay in stillness if it becomes too much. Okay, we honor our body here. And we allow a little bit of movement, a little bit of wiggle if we need it. Let's see if we can take 5 more breaths, opening up the front of the right hip. And now from here, start to shift your hips back until your right hip is aligned over your right knee. And then I'm going to shift my hands to the inside of my left foot, and I'm going to come into a box stretch. So now I've taken my right hip flexor out of the equation, and I've moved the stretch into the outside of my left hip. So if I were to turn to the side, you'd see that square. Okay, it's a square. Okay, but I'm going to face forward. And I like to rest my forearms on blocks here. Okay, now it's tempting to let your left knee wing out to the side. See if you can squeeze the left inner thigh toward your upper arm just a little bit. Okay, so it's a little bit active. Okay, but the right hip flexor is not stretching. We already got really deep into that. We don't want to overdo that. We're working on a totally different muscle here. It's more outer hip, inner thigh. A little bit of balance. And if you're folding forward, you're getting a nice little opening in the lower back as well. Let's settle in here. Find that sweet spot where it's not too much work, but it's also not totally passive. Let's take 5 more breaths here. One more breath in. One more breath out. We're going to stay on this side. We've got 2 more postures here. Lift back up. So I'm just pressing my hands into my block so I have more space in my upper body. And I'm going to toe heel my left foot over to the right. And I'm going to lower my left knee down. Okay, from here, I'm going to snuggle my right knee up behind my left knee. So don't worry, I have options here. If Gomukhasana is not your bag. Okay, if it is, go ahead and start to sit back. Okay, so left knee is on top of the right knee. Feet are flexed. Okay, if this is not going to work for you today, figure 4 is a great option. Okay, you're going to stretch the same stuff. Okay. Otherwise, set yourself up with left knee on top of the right and decide whether you're going to stay lifted or whether you might want to start to lengthen your upper body forward. Okay. Another option, you can always extend that bottom leg out. Okay. And just keep the left knee crossed on top. Okay. So lots of ways to make this work for your body. Decide what is best for you. And then start to settle in. Find your slow, even breath. And allow breath and sensation to anchor you. As you settle into these more intense hip stretches, notice if any tension has shifted to your shoulders or your neck or your jaw. And see if you can get a sense of your whole body settling here. So even though we feel a lot of the sensation in the lower body, we don't want to forget about the upper body. So it continues to be the whole body settling here. You're experiencing your whole body in this posture. Let's stay here just about 3 to 4 more breaths. And slowly begin to lift your upper body. One more posture on this side. We won't hold it very long. We're just going to move into a spinal twist. Okay, so seated spinal twist. You can just lift that left knee up. It might feel good to extend the bottom leg now. Totally up to you. I'm going to lean back onto my left hand to get nice and tall in my spine. Right arm comes up. Spinal twist to the left. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, find your twist. Just 2 breaths here. Big breath in. Big breath out. One more breath in. One more breath out. Good. Gently release. Lean back. Take a minute or two to do whatever it is you need to do to come back to neutral. Yeah, so let it be what you need. So for me, kind of windshield wipering my knees feels really good. When you're ready, like in the next, let's say the next minute, let's meet back at downward facing dog, just to bring yourself back to neutral. Use it to kind of pedal your feet out. And then when you feel ready, we're going to set up for our low lunge on the other side. So the right foot will be forward, the left leg will be back this time. You can come into that any way you want. Yeah, so setting yourself up if you need that padding under the left knee. If you want to have props to rest your hands on or your forearms on, take your time. So playing around with finding that sweet spot. So in my low lunge, even when I'm practicing in a yin practice, I like to maintain a little bit of control here, a little bit of lifting up and in. Okay, so sometimes I'll kind of exhale, let my hips sink forward, but then I might inhale and lift them up a little bit, contracting the inner thighs. And I play around with that. That idea of kind of like dancing around the edge of that sweet spot. Playing around with active and passive. We've got about 4 more breaths here. Targeting the front of the left hip.
left hip flexor. Slowly start to shift your hips back. Again, we're taking the left hip on top of the left knee now. I'm bringing the hands to the inside of the right foot. We're coming into that box or that square. So you want to look down and find those right angles. Right knee is over right ankle. Right knee is in line with the right hip. Left hip is over left knee. Okay. Or it's in that direction. And I like to fold my forearms down onto my blocks here. That may or may not be available. And then remember that we want to kind of keep hugging that right inner thigh toward the right shoulder or the right arm. So this is all about the right hip. The outside of the right hip. And it gets a little bit into the right inner thigh. Left leg is just a stabilizer here. You can let your head hang. That feels okay. Maybe even notice that you can get a little opening in the lower back. Take about 3 more breaths here. Press your hands down, lift your upper body. We'll start to head into our Gomukhasana stretch, bringing the right knee down to the ground in front of the left, and then from here, snuggling the left knee up behind the right, wing the feet out and sit back between the heels. Again, figure 4 or shoelace, where we extend the bottom leg straight out, are great options if stacking the knees doesn't feel good in your body. And wherever you're at, start with a nice lifted spine, and then decide whether you want to stay right there or whether you want to start to lengthen your upper body forward. Totally up to you. As best as you can, try to get a sense of feeling balanced in this posture. It can be really hard not to kind of lean to the left. But as best as you can, see if you can think about the right side of your pelvis dropping down so that you're leveling out. Again, remind yourself that even though we are hearing the most noise from our hips here, this is a whole body practice. So we don't want to ignore tension in the shoulders or the neck or the jaw. Take just a few more breaths here. Begin to lift your upper body. One more posture on this side here. Spinal twist. Okay, so maybe lifting that right knee and tucking that left heel a little bit closer to your bottom. Right hand goes behind your back to support you. Left arm comes up. And then upper body rotates to the right. Okay, so another option here would be to simply take a comfortable seated position and find your spinal twist. Okay, so if the legs being kind of tangled like that doesn't feel good anymore, a simple seated spinal twist will do. And let's take one more big breath in. And one more big breath out. And beautiful. Bring yourself back through center. We're going to come on to our back. So keeping your, actually either block or bolster under the hips. Let's set up for a supported bridge. Okay, so block or bolster under the hips so that the hips are lifted. Yeah. The head rest. And just feel the part of the upper body that's resting on the ground. Feel it settle. And then decide whether you want to stay here with your feet planted or if you might enjoy lifting your feet up into the air for a restorative inversion. Totally up to you. We're going to stay here just about another minute. And if your feet are up in the air, start to bring them back down toward the ground.
Press your feet into the ground. Lift your hips. Remove the block or the bolster. And gently draw the knees in toward your chest and just massage out the lower back. And when you're ready, we're going to set up for recline bound angle. So soles of the feet together, knees open. And if you want to support your knees with any props, you can wedge them into your outer thighs. Or if you have a bolster, you can slide it under your knees, and that should support your outer thighs. So soles of the feet together, knees open. It's a nice restorative bound angle. Just allowing gravity to stretch the hips, to open up the inner thighs. I'll take a moment to really notice the connection of the back of your body to the ground. Back of the head, back of the shoulders, the upper back, middle back, low back, pelvis, maybe the thighs, depending on your flexibility, outsides of the feet. And see if you can connect to the sensation or the idea that the weight of your body is being held by the ground. You are welcome to stay here for the last few minutes of class, or you can draw your knees together and decide where you want to go next. It can be traditional corpse pose, seated meditation, legs up the wall, any sort of restorative posture. We've got just about 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes here. Settle into your stillness for these last few minutes of class. In the next couple of breaths, you might consider deepening your breath or letting some breath flow out the mouth. And gently bring a little bit of movement back into your body. We'll meet back in a comfortable seated position when you're ready. We finished our class together, bringing our hands at our heart. And together we fold forward, sealing in your yoga practice. Namaste.